Good evening. Welcome to the Village's Suffern Village Board Workshop Meeting. Today is June 30th and it is now 7 p.m. I would like for all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as we always do, please let us remain standing and remember our military men and women serving our great country. And also at these trying times here in the United States, let us remember and support all of our local law enforcement officers protecting us on a day-to-day basis. Thank you. You may have a seat. Okay, the next upcoming meetings, the regular meeting of the Village Board of Trustees will be held on Tuesday, July 7th at 7 p.m. Please note that the regular meeting was changed from Monday, July 6th to Tuesday, July 7th. Is that still okay with the board? Is the board in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the next workshop meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, July 28th at 7 p.m. Okay, so next on the agenda is the confirmation of the village board decision to not fund the 2020 opening of the Suffern
We have a
Memorial.
roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always do that. I'm sorry. Mr. Barone.
Present.
Mr. Alpert.
Present.
Ms. Meegan-Corrigan.
Present.
Mr. Girard.
I think his audio's out.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well, let's wait and let's see if we can get Mr. Girard on.
Mr. Girard, according to us, he should be okay. He's unmuted here. I don't know if he wants to log out, log back in.
Paul, can you hear us? If you can hear us, give us a thumbs up. But you can't talk? All right. Can we get...
Trustee Girard, just take a look on your computer, whatever you're using. See if you have a microphone to mute on that end, other than the Zoom.
And make sure you're set for the right input for the mic. Like when I click on my mic button on Zoom, it gives me a choice which mic I'm using. So make sure you're set for the correct mic.
Yeah, if you look at your mic button, you'll see there's a drop down. It'll give you a choice of if there's more than one input.
Like external or microphone or whatever. When you logged in, it might have given you the challenge. Do you want to use your audio to use whatever? I don't know how it said it, but something to that effect.
It just indicated that you muted yourself now. It
Try
just
talking.
indicated you unmuted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Now we
Yeah.
do. Yes. Good
Oh.
job.
All right. Sorry about that.
Now you can say present.
Present.
Okay, so we have the full board of trustees here. I'm here also. Okay, number 2 on the agenda, confirmation of the village board decision not to fund the 2020 opening of the Suffern Memorial Pool in the 2020-21 budget due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So, on June 23rd, a week ago, Dr. Anthony Fauci warned lawmakers of the need to continue or increase strong precautionary measures to contain what he called a disturbing surge in the COVID-19 virus. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar warned Sunday that the window is closing for the United States to get the corona pandemic under control, as confirmed cases are surging in a majority of the country, and some states are dealing with record numbers of hospitalization. Secretary Azar also warned things are very different from 2 months ago. So it is a very different situation. But this is very, very serious, and the window is closing for us to take action and get this under control. 36 states are reporting a rise in positive corona cases, and only 2 are reporting a decline in cases as compared to last week. On Friday, the United States reported the highest numbers of new cases in a single day, with at least 40,173 new infections. The previous daily high was reported on Thursday. Many states, I believe up to 16, and maybe higher now, have paused their reopening plans or reimposed some restrictions in the hopes of curbing the spread of the virus. Despite surge warnings from top health officials, there has been continued interest from members of the community to understand the decision the village of Suffern made not to open the pool this summer. On June 23rd, I emailed the board. In the email, I stated that on April 28th, the board agreed to final budget changes that were adopted by the board on April 30th. The budget that was passed by the board reflected the thoughts and opinions of each member, and it was my understanding the board was pleased with the adopted budget. It has been brought to my attention regarding discussions with members of the board that a subject and that the subject of the opening of the Suffern pool for 2020 has been raised for consideration. I think I had a glitch there. Was I good? Did you guys hear me?
Mostly.
Okay. It has been brought to my attention regarding discussions with members of the board that the subject of opening the pool has been raised as a consideration. The village has also received inquiries as to the status of the opening of the pool this summer. The concerns that were raised during the budget decision have not changed. The concerns that were raised, the board collectively decided not to fund the operation of the pool this year in an effort to reduce expenditures and out of concern for the unknown related to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. As you are aware, the only cost that was funded in the budget as it relates to the pool was to provide $10,000 for the necessary upkeep and maintenance of the pool for future use. I further stated the same concerns regarding opening the pool during a pandemic still exist. These concerns also still include the necessity to consider the unknown. For example, will spikes in cases of the virus increase? And as a result, will residents be less inclined to use a public pool? If residents believe that using a public pool is a risk they are not willing to take, especially considering the spike in the cases of COVID relating to opening activities in other parts of the country, opening the pool has inherent risk. Or will more residents look to use the pool this summer based on limited other available recreational opportunities? And then how would the village manage this? I received phone calls from Trustee Charles Barone and Trustee Stephen Alpert, who advised me that they understand these concerns, but stated they were yet undecided as to reopening the pool. I received email reply from Trustee Girard, who stated if we follow this approach, meaning the board providing input regarding the decision of opening the pool, then we won't have the point of view from the leader of our village. Unfortunately, we have too many instances during this pandemic where poor outcomes have resulted when our leaders have remained on the sidelines. Conversely, strong leadership during the crisis has often led to positive outcomes. As our leader and the leader of this village, the board asks that you make a proposal on the pool, meaning me. The board can then assess this proposal and either agree to it or make alternative recommendations. I am confident that with the demonstration of strong leadership, we can come up with a good decision for our residents. I emailed the board because I was doing what Trustee Meegan-Corrigan has asked us to do, and that is to move on and to work together. Unfortunately, there is still confusion regarding this matter. The confusion should not exist since the board already made their decision when they made the decision to not fund the pool for budgetary purposes because we were in the midst of a COVID pandemic. This was a decision I respected when it was made. And based on Paul's email to me and Trustee Barone and Alpert not yet reaching a decision, I will advise this board and the public what my decision is. I do not believe the pool should be open for two reasons. Inadequate funding and knowing that top officials in this nation have warned that COVID-19 is of even greater concern now than it was on April 28th. So the question became, under normal circumstances, of course, how would the village fund opening the pool this summer? You know what, let me just step back here. With the COVID-19 pandemic is enough of a reason. Also, we must keep in mind that we were under quarterly review by the New York State Comptroller. Making a decision on reversing course on our budget, what we passed, would not look favorably upon the village of Suffern. In discussions with Treasurer Genito, based on historical data, along with what other municipalities are doing as they move forward with limited openings and larger municipal pools, the cost to fund the Suffern pool will be greater this year because what is required of the municipality during the COVID pandemic. As mayor, I do not believe it shows fiscal responsibility for the board to not fund the opening of the pool, which was reflected in the budget recently sent by Treasurer Genito to the State of New York Comptroller's Office, as I stated earlier, only to provide a quarterly update to the New York State Comptroller's Office indicating that the board decided to change their mind and attempt to fund the pool during COVID. This is not fiscally responsibility, and this is not leadership. However, even if the board was able to find the funding for the pool, as mayor, my decision is to not open the pool because I think it is too unsafe right now. So to confirm the board and to the public, my decision is not to open the pool this summer. This situation frighteningly reminds me of the movie Jaws. If you all recall the movie Jaws, the municipality was fully aware of the dangers of the shark attack. Yet, to make certain people happy, they ignored what they knew was fact and opened the beaches. I don't have to explain any further what happened. And to remind you, this is not a shark. This is worse. It's a global pandemic. A global pandemic that top officials have warned the entire American public that it is a very, very serious, deadly situation, and the window is closing for us to take action to get this under control. And I, as the mayor of this village, do not want to put any more of our people, our residents, at risk, our seniors, our children, or our families. Thank you.
Can we add to that, Mayor?
Yes, Trustee Alpert.
All right, so I just want to address the public and give them a little more information. We did receive some questions on this as well that I want to clarify. I made a direct response to the one that we received, but others may have this question. How was Ramapo able to fund their pool in a COVID situation. I do want to add, for the benefit of anybody watching, that Ramapo's budget has a different fiscal year than the Village of Suffern. Ramapo does their budget January 1st to December 31st, and therefore they were already working on their budget for 2020 during November of 2019, when there was not even a hint that there was a COVID situation upcoming. So therefore their funding was already in place. And of course, Ramapo being a much larger municipality encompassing the Village of Suffern, as well as other villages like Spring Valley and Montebello and Hilburn and Airmont and so on and so forth, they have a much bigger budget. They have somewhere in the neighborhood of a $50 million budget, and I'm sure there's more wiggle room. That said, the other trustees and myself were reviewing with the director of Parks and Recreation to investigate whether it might be feasible for the to change what we do with the pool, cut as far as hours, where we'd have maybe windows of 2 hours at a time, just a rough idea, for instance. And people, if we had enough people interested at their own risk, essentially, yes, and it's very dangerous. And I wouldn't want my family to attend the pool under those circumstances, I have to be honest. But we had so many people from the public contact us about this that we wanted to see if it was feasible, not put it in place, but to see if it was feasible to open the pool completely funded by pool passes. Now, I should add, in a good year, not this year, but in a typical year, the majority of the funding for the pool is from the sale of pool passes. So the amount that comes from the village budget is a certain amount, but it's a much smaller amount than the amount that's coming from the pool passes. And, the village portion usually is for the maintenance and startup and all that sort of stuff, the uniforms for the lifeguards and so on and so forth. There's definitely some expenses involved in all of that. But we wanted to investigate how many passes we would have to sell, essentially, to break even, where we would not touch the budget. However, it took a little bit to get the information, let's just say that. So anyway, here we are. We did receive information today. It's not fully vetted, but it probably is too late to go forward with even figuring it out, but I'll let the other trustees chime in on that.
I'd like to make the comment that when we chose to not open the pool, it was not a financial issue. It was a health and safety issue. And there was no guidance from the health department on how you could safely run a pool. If we were to open the pool this year in accordance to the guidelines, it would only be able to happen if it did not affect the budget. The pool would have to fully fund itself.
And just to add in, I'm sorry, Charlie, if you're done, just to add in one thing, the governor did issue some information on how it's feasible to open a pool and what needs to be done in terms of cleaning and sanitization. There are some information from the governor, but that was only issued about 2 weeks ago. I just wanted to throw that in.
The social distancing aspect that they conferred upon us, what pertained in the water, in the pool itself, and the surrounding area, limited to the half capacity, and the other restrictions that were put in place.
Correct, as well as PERMA from the CDC has given out quite an extensive list of do's and don'ts that everyone has reviewed. And we do have the recreation team that is willing to participate in making this happen for our residents, who has reached out greatly, and it should be their choice if they would like to go to the pool, because their other option is go to the Ramapo pools, which will be more crowded and put them in more harm's way. And if we could do this for our residents and keep them safe, it should be their choice if they would like to join the pool this year. And as we've all discussed, and if it's feasible, You know, the numbers right now sit at the cost of 22. There are some things that can be finited down on the list to reduce that cost a little bit, as well as we do have $10,000 that we did make sure that we had. We don't have the recreation team who has said that they're willing to support this initiative, you know, to get this pool up and running for our residents on a very safe environment, if they choose to do that safe environment within our pool. And, you know, I think that there needs to be a little more work done, and we need to find out if there's enough residents that really want to join the pool to support this. You know,
Okay.
we listened to the residents when they wanted to keep the rec department. And I think this is something that a different side of residents, and a lot of them were also people that are reaching out about the pool. They're the same residents. So why wouldn't we try to achieve that for them this time around?
Okay, so let's just go back to the actual cost. So the cost that we are short right now is $25,000.
Well, that's
With
a
the-
different number than you sent us earlier today, Ed.
I believe that's attached from the Michael Genito spreadsheet. There were two emails that were sent. So one is reflective of the vetted calculations. It comes up to $25,000
Mayor,
without the additional cost of the additional monitors, temperature thermometers, monitoring the pool, sanitation, and all of those additional costs, in which our recreation coordinator indicated she was going to Ramapo's pool today to find out more detail in the actual cost and how they were moving forward. I also had charged the recreation coordinator with developing a plan. This had to go back 2 weeks ago. With being able to calculate the social distancing, how are we going to develop, how are we going to possibly open up the pool?
Mayor, Michael
Yes.
here. Just to let you know, Cathy Mills, the recreation coordinator, is online, and she can unmute herself if you'd like to speak with her, if the board would like to address anything.
Okay, but I haven't received that information either. This is a very critical point here in the village of Suffern, making this
Agreed.
determination with the pandemic
Correct.
running rampant throughout our country and states reversing their reopening plans. We do not need to be part of a reversal. We need to be moving forward.
So therefore you want to shut down all recreation?
Is
Because
that what you're saying?
no, I'm asking you if you feel the pool is
We're
an
not
unsafe
talking
environment.
about, we are talking about the pool and the restrictions that are placed upon the village, the municipality, in operating a pool safely and ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the people that are attending the pool. This is a very challenging, uncharted territory for a lot of people. You're talking about people that are utilizing a pool, coming out of a pool, sneezing, coughing, whatever's going on. The limitations in Ramapo, that you have to social distance inside the pool, outside the pool, no food, one way in, one way out, no lifeguard shack. I mean, it is astronomical what you need to do.
Well, what we're saying is we would like to, as a group and as a board, decide and see how many people are willing to follow the rules. You know, the rec team has confirmed that they are willing to help and get this done. And the PERMA rules clearly state that this is something that can be done in a safe fashion. And I think that we owe it to our residents to look into it and not just put on the agenda that the pool's closed without fully researching it and working on it.
I-
mean, we should let the public speak, and as people being elected in and wanting safety for our village, that we should ensure that for them. Did you see any of the permit info? Did you read any of it?
Yes, I read a host of information, but I
Okay,
have to continually to remind you that the funding is not in place for the pool. That's the bottom line. The funding is not in place, and the COVID pandemic is still raging across the United States. I understand the need, but
just to chime in for 1 second, I do want to point out, you know, I had hoped, and the mayor can affirm this, I hope, that we spoke about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. I had hoped that we could have a similar meeting like this a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And that opportunity was turned down. But having said that, I agree with the mayor that we shouldn't go forward in any case unless it's something that could be funded completely by the passes sold, which would mean we'd have to sell more passes or they would have to be a higher price. But if that were to be feasible, if enough people were interested, would that be something you would consider, Mayor? In other words, no money from the budget, strictly 100% from sales of passes, if enough people are interested.
no. So let me remind you that during the budget process, you were going to let the recreation staff go.
And we fought tooth and nail to keep them, because we all worked to keep that department, because we heard the residents and we made it happen, Ed.
That's right. That's right. And it wouldn't, so they're here. You were willing to let them go. Now you're willing to open the pool in the middle of a pandemic, and you didn't fund it. This is fiscally irresponsible, along with irresponsibility on the health, safety, and welfare of our residents. We have to end the liability to the village. One case of COVID in the pool is shuttering the pool. This pool,
Okay, Ed, it's quite clear that you're not in agreement with opening the pool or looking into it and seeing what we can do to help the residents that are going through a really hard time. It's very clear.
I charge the recreation staff with creating socially distanced programs and activities. And we're waiting on programs that were developed, and the governor's guidance, once again, for outdoor activities has increased from 10 to 25. You're talking about a gathering in a pool of, I don't know, maybe 100 people in a pool in a different environment.
No, we don't have to have 100 people in a pool. That's just absurd that you would even think that way. But
in the pool area.
So that's okay. So I guess we're going to have more discussions on it.
Well, I wish we would have had some additional recreational activities proposed from the recreation coordinator. I am disappointed in that.
Can I make a proposal?
Yes, Mr. Barone.
What would people think if we had on the village meeting, a public hearing, listen to what the public wanted, after we posted, these would be the rules at the pool. This is what it would cost to join the pool. You would have to sign a waiver that if you got Corona at the pool, the village was not liable. And if Corona went up and the governor closed the pool, you understand you might not get a refund. And if enough people wanted to agree to this and show up at the pool, just a few people at a time for an hour or two at a time, and then they have to leave and new people come in, is that something that we could post on the website and then hear if enough people thought that it was a good plan or something that we should let go?
I just think that right now it's June 30th. We need about 3 weeks to open the pool.
We only need 2.
That's an opinion, okay?
No, that is with me talking to the department heads,
Okay,
and they have confirmed that 2 weeks would be just fine. And they have all committed that they would make sure that that happened.
well, the labor and the liability, I mean, there are many challenging pieces here.
Well, the only way to find out if this can be funded is to put it out to the residents and, as Chuck said, establish those prices and those parameters. And if the people that are vocal and passionate vocally are going to show equal passion and say, yes, I want to utilize the pool, I'm willing to pony up and take the risks that Chuck outlined, then the only way to find out if we can fund it is to do that. I don't see another way to figure out how to fund it unless we go ahead and ask those residents to sign up, to write their checks. If we have to hit a certain number, we determine what that number is tonight. And if we do not hit that number, we're going to have to say, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to open the pool and we're going to refund your money.
We need approximately $25,000 in additional funds, at the minimum.
No, we don't.
I disagree.
Totally disagree.
Okay, I have this spreadsheet here in front of me, so what am I missing?
Okay, well, we have $10,000 in the budget already that has not been used yet.
That's going to be used for the maintenance and upkeep of the pool no matter what, right now.
But
Right,
that's part
so
of the 25,000.
Yeah,
We're $25,000 short. If Mr. Genito, if you're on, can you review the spreadsheet for
Right.
the board?
no, we understand a spreadsheet, Ed. We're
We gotta
fully aware of
understand that, we
spreadsheets.
have to understand the deficit that we're facing on the opening of the pool.
Also, Mayor, there's a few items on that spreadsheet that we are told are not necessary. For instance, there's about $4,000, close to $4,000 to replace the hardware that prints the passes. But especially with COVID, you don't want to be handing in passes and having them handled by other people. I was told by the coordinator of recreation that it could be done with a Excel spreadsheet, and they have to just show their license that they're on the spreadsheet, and that would be sufficient. We don't actually need to print passes. Just to throw that out. So that's $3,800 right there off the top. And additionally, and Mr. Genito can confirm, if the $10,000 that we budgeted is part of the $25,000 or so on the spreadsheet, that's another $10,000 that we've already budgeted. So we're really talking very small amount, probably something closer to $10,000 here.
And also, this spreadsheet is on 7 weeks, and the pool won't be open for 7 weeks. And the chlorine is approximately $200 to $250 a week. So that takes some money off of that. And, you know, if we need to not replace the diving board this year for $1,000, we don't replace the diving board this year.
And it's probably safer not to replace the diving board anyway, if we were to open.
It should be removed because it would be a congestion point.
Right,
Correct.
you really use the diving board anyway.
Mayor, if I may, it's Michael Genito. The $10,000 was put into the budget at the request of recreation. That was for maintenance of the pool and repairs to the pool. I am not sure what went into that or whether or not that plays into some. It certainly would play into some of the maintenance that's on there, but I would want the recreation coordinator to confirm what the $10,000 was to cover. For instance, if it was to cover some kind of repairs, that instead of doing those repairs, it would be used for this budget. That's one thing. But the maintenance money that was there was for things, as I understood it, repairs to the pool. It might have been the diving board as one of it. It might have been crack filling. It might have been resurfacing. But in any event, I'm not fully familiar with what that meant. But that meant if the pool wasn't open. So whether that money can be used as part of the $25,000 that's needed to run the pool is really a question for the recreation coordinator.
Okay.
No, that's a-
Did anybody
Cathy
hear
gonna-
me? This is Kathy.
Kathy, we
Oh,
hear you.
good. Oh, good. I'm
comment.
glad you're on,
Hold
Cathy.
on 1 second, everybody. So I just want to confirm that, Michael, that the the shortage is the $25,418.
Yes, unless somebody else says, like Cathy Mills, the recreation coordinator, that $10,000 is included in some of that maintenance cost already.
Okay. Cathy?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Village Board. So I've been listening, and I know that all of the board members and the mayor have reached out to me at different times for information about the pool. I wanted to just make sure I made the statement that Recreation is willing, able, and ready to do whatever it is that the board decides on. We are willing to help the residents. We are willing to help the board. We will do whatever is asked of us. So I've supplied numbers to everybody. Mayor, you made a statement before that I haven't supplied other activities to you. That was an email that you asked me to send, which I did at the end of last week. Those are activities that we're trying to do in the village with social distancing in mind. I don't know if you recall the email. I can look back exactly when I sent it. But we as a department are doing everything that we possibly can to work with the public. And one of those ideas was something like the movie night, which is tomorrow night. So I'm getting off the subject of the pool, but I just wanted the public to know that every day we are working to make activities happen for the residents. We had the chalk contest a couple of weeks ago. We've done scavenger hunts inside when the pandemic first started. We're doing daily, every day, to come up with things for the village. As you all know, the budget was cut dramatically from recreation. So we're trying to work with what we have. We're trying to work with the social distance regulations. And until the social distance regulations get a little bit more formatted, we are holding off with doing activities with large numbers of people. For example, the concerts. We want to do things like that, but we are listening to the county executive. We're listening to our local leaders about events that are not happening right now, and we're going with that. But getting back to the pool, as I told you, Mayor, a couple of weeks ago, and all the board members, I walked the pool with our water department. We know how much square footage we have in the pool. We know how many people we can fit. We know how many people can go into the area without overcrowding. Our pool is plenty. We have plenty of space to be able to fit a large number of people there. The pool currently, for those of you that don't know, which I'm sure you all do, can fit 200 people. So 100 people is the amount that we would say would go to the pool, and that's how many we can work with. Yes, I did visit the town of Ramapo today, and they were very gracious to me to tell me how they're working through this pandemic. They have hired a full staff of lifeguards. They have hired 4 people specifically to handle COVID issues. And that would be something that I would recommend if we are going to do this. I would want people extra at the pool to do that. They have people sanitizing. They have people doing the maintenance there. So all the numbers that I've been running, and I shared that with you as well, Mayor, last week. I shared it with the board members. Those numbers are, as drop dead minimum of what we would need to start up. There's going to be information like we have to get the supplies for sanitizing, for cleaning, things that we'll need to use at the pool. Those are unknowns at that point. We don't know exactly we know what we need to get, but how fast we'll go through them, how we'll use them, that's all to be decided. So Mayor, I did work on a plan. I haven't talked to you this week. So there is a plan of how we would run this. And one of the comments before about the paper passes, we would be willing to have paper passes this year because we don't have a pool ID system. That's something that we're willing to work with. Again, recreation, I just want on our end, the public to know that recreation is ready, willing, and able to do whatever it is the board decides. We work for you, we work for the residents. We can do it if needed. We can do other programs as needed as well. The recreation staff, as you all have mentioned, was kept on board, and we all thank the board for keeping us here. But we want to make sure you do know that we're not sitting down and waiting for this pandemic to end. If you ask residents in the village of Suffern, from seniors to families to people that go to the library, that used to go to the library, We are keeping people engaged. We're keeping residents involved. So we will continue to do that. The staff that we have of 2 other people need to continue to be able to work and do programs if we keep the pool, if we open the pool. There's a lot of factors that go into this. In the past, recreation was not at the pool. We only had the lifeguards and myself and staff helping. So I just want to caution you that we want to go full ahead. Whatever the mayor and all of the board members agree with, we can do it. We just need guidance. Time is ticking. Time is, winding down. It will take a while to get the pool ready. But again, with all the wonderful departments that we have, between the water department, between the DPW department, between all of our departments, our amazing staff and recreation, we can do whatever is needed to do. But we are waiting on the sidelines daily, as the water department is, as DPW is, on the sidelines to have guidance. So I just wanted to make that statement to all of you and to the residents that we are willing to do whatever is asked of us. We are just waiting on the sidelines to do that.
Okay, so to that point, with the pool and the plan, where is the plan?
I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
the plan formatted, Mayor. It's all done.
Where is it?
I have it.
Where?
Where is it? Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking, where is the plan?
I have it on my computer.
Okay, so first thing, I would like you to email it to me now. And then I would like to see.
Well, I think, Mayor,
I just have another question a few questions for Cathy. Going to the number of people in the pool, you said it would be 100?
So the numbers I'm giving you is the pool capacity is 196 people. That's
Right.
the pool capacity. So if we were to go with the 50% capacity that the state has asked us to, that would be 98. So not 100, 98 people.
And is that including the diving board area?
That is
There's
including the
diving
diving
board.
board area, yes. 196 is for the entire large pool, including the diving board area.
Without the diving board. Now, that's the pool capacity itself,
Correct.
inside the pool. And now, what is the requirements outside the pool?
There is no requirements, but that's what I was explaining to you before. We know the lawn capacity of how much we have of space. It's
Right.
10,900 feet. So if we were to social distance people, we have plenty of room to fit at least 100 people at that pool.
So email me the plan now while I'm in this meeting. Email it to the board.
Mayor, I don't have that. It's on my other computer and I'm on my daughter's computer.
So can you mail it first thing in the morning?
Yes, I can.
What would the additional cost be, estimated cost? If we're short $25,000 now, according to the spreadsheet, what would the additional cost be as you observed at Ramapo today?
Again, I would suggest we would hire people to do the COVID testing. The 4 people that they hired are specifically there to do COVID, and not testing, I apologize, the wording, COVID monitoring. So they had somebody watching the restrooms to make sure people weren't going in and out over the amount of people that should. That was one restroom for one person, one restroom for another person. They had one person checking the exit because right now you have to have one entrance, one exit, which is something that we would have to do as well. For us, it's easy. We have a gate right near the entrance. That's an easy fix. And then they had one person just checking social distancing and making sure that things are wiped down.
And how many people do they have in their pool, Cathy?
She told me the number today. I'm probably going to get it wrong. Whatever it was, they did it by half, but it's still about, I think it was 250, but I could be wrong on that. But it was still.
So we need half of what they are supplying.
Yes.
If they're doing 250 and we're doing 98 to 100, if everyone shows up, then we would only need 2 people.
2 people.
If they're doing 4, we could do it with 2.
Well, those,
you
again,
gotta-
Hold on, guys.
You gotta cover the hours that the pool's open.
Depending
Yes.
on the roles that each of the monitors play, it would still remain the same possibly, depending on the role.
Right.
I do
Monitoring
agree
the
with that.
bathrooms is gonna be one person. Social distancing on the grounds is one person. Social distancing in the pool is another person. So it may not be half.
Right, agreed.
I do agree with that, Mayor. We couldn't say just because we're smaller, it would be less people. We'd have to really look at what the roles would be, and that's how we would have to decide how many would be on site.
And that's
And-
why we need the
That's fair.
complete comprehensive plan, which I would like as soon as possible, Ms. Mills.
In your comprehensive plan, based on the numbers of people we had last year, could you adjust the prices to reflect how much each badge is going to need to be to make this something that funds itself?
Listen, I think, and I'm not the treasurer, we're short 25,000. I would go with an additional 15,000. That's additional 40,000. We generate revenues from pool fees of 40,000. So to me, it almost sounds like doubling the fee, roughly.
Well, these numbers are a bit confusing, and I don't know if between Cathy and Mike Genito, they can help me. But it appears that we took an awful lot of items that are on this detailed list that was provided earlier that got us to that 22,000 before it was adjusted to 25, but those details seem like they still hold true in this worksheet. And we have a host of items that we're calling maintenance, such as the pool registration fee, the uniforms, the awnings, the diving board, the pool ID system, the umbrellas, the supplies, the alarm system, the fire extinguishers. They seem to all be lumped into something called maintenance. But in previous years, the numbers don't come close, and it almost looks like the spreadsheet shows that those items were not even spent upon previous years, which I gotta believe that many of them were. So how does the maintenance line go from, and I'm rounding here, 7,000 in 18 to 4,000 to 4,019 to 4,000 an estimate for 20 and to turn out to be 18,000 from Cathy's spreadsheet? It just, I mean, I understand the details of how Cathy gets her number. I'm puzzled where all these costs are from previous years and how many of these things are avoidable because they're not even counted in previous years. I mean, I understand we need to get, okay, pool registration fee. I understand that's necessary. The chlorine, I guess it's debatable whether it's 5,000 or something less. The utilities are on here in a separate line. Uniforms say $1,600. That's lumped into the 18. That comes out to, based on $60 per lifeguard, that's about 26 lifeguards. Are we going to hire 26 lifeguards?
This
Well,
year,
and,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Cathy, sorry.
this year, we wouldn't hire as many as we have in the past. The discussions of having the pool changed hours, we would be able to change that up. I know in the past, we wanted to be leaner. This would be the year to be leaner. You know, I do caution that we have lifeguards that if we hire the guards that are going back to college, assuming and hoping they're going back to college in the fall, we would have to have a second round of people, which is why I've always said we hire enough that when they start to go back to school, we have guards who know what they're doing. So we need to make sure we're not stripping the guards of how many people and then not leaving enough for the end of the season.
So how many guards are we proposing to hire? Are you proposing to hire?
We would be able to run a shift of guards with 8 people at a time, plus a head guard. So I am looking to hire, if we were to fill up a staff, of 13 to 15 guards.
Okay.
And working 8 a day.
Right, but Kathy, normally when the pool is open for the 7 to 8 weeks, don't you usually have 10? So it's a shorter time period. So we're not really cutting down the staff, correct?
We're not cutting down the staff. No, the numbers I was giving were guards that were working. So depending on
Right.
how many we hire, it's the working day the numbers were coming out of.
Right. So we're not shorting the lifeguard staff by any means.
Well, last year we did bring on more subs, knowing that we had a lot of college students. We would just have to not bring the subs on, but we would have to condense, we would have to make the staff smaller.
And we
Okay.
fell short last year. We
Fell short where, Mayor?
We just made it through the season last year with the subs.
No, we were very healthy at the end of the summer. We had enough young kids that we were able to finish off the season strong.
They were the subs that didn't work in the beginning of the year.
Correct. That the board didn't approve to have them come on in the beginning. We had them waiting at the end of the year. Yes.
I need to see the plan. So after this conversation, we'll continue through the agenda. I want you to come back to the office and email the board the plan. If there's a detailed plan, the board needs to see it before they make this decision.
Okay.
Cathy,
Okay.
I want to add in a couple things. So there's certain items that are on that $23,000 or $25,000 spreadsheet, whatever, depending on which spreadsheet you're looking at, that, as we've discussed, things like that badge printer for $4,000 or so, there's certain things that could come out from that. Plus there's certain things that were already budgeted that are part of that number that's there. So we'd like from you a number of for the cost of actual, because if we don't replace the diving board, because that's a dangerous thing to have anyway with all the splashing, it could splash water and be very, so.
Yeah, Steve, we have those numbers. I mean, that's what I'm going through. So if let's just call it okay, let's say it's 15 guards, okay? That's $900 for uniforms, that's $60 per. Awnings, what is it with these awnings that we need awnings this year? Where do these awnings go?
The awnings, there's 3 awnings at the pool. There's 1 awning over by the side of the kiddie pool. There's 2 awnings on the grass by the lakeside. So those are put up for shade at the pool. We did get rid of a tree about 2 or 3 years ago, which provided a lot of shade at the pool. So right now there isn't shade over the pool except for the tree by the road. So the awnings are for shade.
Okay, where are the cost of these awnings? Where are the awnings from last year?
Where are they're with the company that comes in and installs them.
These are installation fees.
Okay. Okay. I don't see them in the, it's not clear where they are in the costs from the prior years on what I'm going to call Mike's spreadsheet. I don't know if that's an accurate description, but the one that came up with the 25,000. The diving board, we said, not a good idea. We cut that out. Pool ID system, we said, not a good idea. We cut that out. Umbrellas, 200 for umbrellas.
Again,
Are these installation fees as well?
no, we purchased those. Those are what sit over the lifeguard on the lifeguard chairs.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we probably need those. 200 for supplies. I mean, that's not a lot of money. I'm not going to ask that question. What is it about the electrolock alarm system? Is that some kind of an annual fee of some kind?
It is an annual fee. We have an alarm at the pool that's on, so nobody breaks into the pool after.
Gotcha. Gotcha. The fire extinguishers, is this something, we don't have them this year or from last year, or we have to replace them every year?
They come in and they check them to make sure they're working,
Right.
and they upgrade or not upgrade, they tag off that they are working.
So it's an inspection fee. Okay. Okay, and then you've got 8 guards plus 2 head guards. So you have 10 staffed at all times. Is that correct? That's what these numbers work out to.
The head guards are on one at a time.
Okay. So So we have this 2 head guards, 7 days, 7 weeks times 7 hours. So it's actually 1
Yes.
head guard
Right. So
times
what,
7
I'm sorry.
days, 7 weeks, 7 hours. I'm
What
sorry?
we- I'm sorry, what we have done in the past, if one head guard is on as head guard and the other, so there's obviously 7 days in a week, 2 guards, they don't work, they each work 5 days, so there will be overlap. But because they are considered our head guard, they will be there at the pool. They are just not counted as the head guard, but we don't take away their salary. So if one is working 5 days a week and the other one is working 5 days a week, there will be times that both of them are there at the pool. So I counted it as 7 days, but it actually is 5 days for each of them.
Got it. So it's, okay, 2 head guards, 5 days a week versus 7. Okay. And then there are 2 numbers on this list that are listed as maintenance. One just says maintenance for 5,000. The other one is at the bottom of the list. It says maintenance. It says this is early morning cleanup to open the pool daily. This does not include suggested maintenance person on site for cleanliness. So this is the folks in the morning getting the pool ready on a daily basis. That's 3,840.
Yes.
What is the maintenance that says 5,000 at the top of the list?
That was what I saw from Michael's spreadsheet. And that's going to be, I'm assuming, money to get the pool ready. We have to
Excuse me, Cathy, what spreadsheet are you talking about? The only thing that I remember recalling about the pool, there was one item in the budget for the pool that was $10,000 for maintenance of the pool.
I'm not talking, this is not budget, Mike. This is her estimate of.
No, I know that, but Cathy just said that 5,000 was in there from a spreadsheet that I put in.
Michael, I don't have it in front of me. I'm trying to look through my papers. I believe I saw something about maintenance is 5,000. And I know, just as a clarification, I know the number came up before about the $10,000 for the maintenance. That was the budget that was kept in the budget from the pool when the pool was brought out, was knocked out. I didn't give that number. That was given to me as a $10,000 budget. I'm assuming that it was for the pool so it wouldn't fall apart over the summer. But
Wasn't that, Cathy, wasn't that for painting, repair of the cracks, and the cleaning? That was for painting and crack repair.
It could have been, Mayor, but again, I didn't give the number of 10. I just know that when the budget was done, 10,000 was given for the pool. But as an aside of that about the painting, the pool is due to be painted, and I know I've had a discussion with everybody about it. To completely get that pool ready to be painted, they have to, strip it, and they have to clean it, and they've got to get it ready. That would be about a $12,000 job alone. So the $10,000 that was mentioned originally, again, I didn't put that money in. I know that was the money that was given to the pool, and it could be used for items like some painting and, if there's items at the pool that were broken, if any of the chairs came down. But again, that number I didn't recommend that number. That was the number that I know was left for the pool of the $10,000. So Michael,
That number wasn't put into your budget, Cathy? I know that you indicated to me that the pool this year definitely needed to be repaired, be it cracks and painted.
No, I don't know if we're saying the same thing. The $10,000.
Forget about the $10,000. Let's just go to the painting and repairs of the cracks in the pool.
Right.
We need that done this year.
That would be up to the board, Mayor.
No, not up to the board, Cathy. You made the recommendation this year that needed to be done.
No, I recommended
That's why
that
$10,000.
All right, let's not attack people and
We're
get.
not
and
attacking
get the
people,
facts.
Ms. Corrigan. This is what we're dealing with. This is what needs to be addressed. These are the items that were outstanding for the pool. This is why we left the $10,000 in the budget allocated in there for the maintenance, repair, and painting of the pool.
Great, that $10,000 from what I remember was for if something went wrong and we had to put some water in the pool, and if something happened because the water level got higher and then the pool started to look like it was going to be compromised, we wanted to keep money in the budget so we weren't fall shorted on it. That money was not actually earmarked for anything. The $12,000 for the painting was never on for this year. They were never going to paint the pool this year.
Mayor,
Unless
I
the
do have to clarify that. If we weren't going to open the pool, we would not have painted the pool this year. So that $12,000 would not have been used for the pool to paint the pool.
If,
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so in a year like,
hold on. Cathy, if the pool was going to be open this year, would we have painted it?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. That was the discussion on the pool before COVID. Let's make that perfectly clear. The cracks and the painting were necessary to open the pool this year. Absolutely, Trustee Corrigan.
No, I disagree.
But this, Cathy, the recreation coordinator, just confirmed it. I'm sorry.
Cathy,
okay, but I guess the question, sorry, Chuck, go ahead.
Cathy, could the pool be opened without painting it?
We have had this discussion in the past with the board, with the mayor, with everybody. We have limped along without painting that pool. We could open the pool. It wouldn't be the best shape that it has been. So that would have to be a decision of the board if we chose not to do it. We, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've requested to paint the pool. The money has not been there, so we have not. So discussions
Cathy?
with the, yes,
Just a quick note. I look back at the budget request form that you completed for the this current budget, and under pool area maintenance, you requested $14,000.
yes.
And so I believe the board had cut that down to 10,000 to take care, as I recall the conversations, I'd have to look back, of the minimum repairs that would be needed for the pool, even though it wouldn't be open.
Right.
So what were the minimum repairs to the pool that if it wasn't opened?
Exactly what we would be doing now. Just get the pool ready, do any, and what I'm going to say 2 parts to this. To do any painting at the pool, it would be markers in the pool that would be like on the bottom that we would have our water department do, so that we would be able to see 5 foot deep, 2 foot deep, those type of numbers. So that is what we would do, and that's what we have done in the past. So that we would need to do, that would get us through. The stairs we typically paint because those need painting before the pool opens. So minimally we would do that.
And
Is
what
that-
cost would that be? What was the cost in the past?
For painting of the pool, Mayor, I'd have to check. That is something that the water department keeps the bills for, so I'd have to look that up.
Well, I checked with the water department and they're confident that we don't need to paint the pool. There's nothing unsafe about opening the pool without painting it. It just will not look as pristine as it always does when we open the pool.
No, Joe, let me just clarify on that. I'm not talking about a complete overhaul of painting. What I'm referring to is, like, if you look at the bottom of the pool and it says 5 foot deep.
Oh, yeah,
Little
that
things
was,
like that.
yep, I understand. And that was painting that they were willing to do and they understood that, correct. I'm talking about, what I'm speaking of, let me be clear, and I'm sorry if I wasn't. I'm talking about the big painting of $12,000. That's the painting I'm speaking of.
Yes.
And that was also considered, Cathy. When was the last time the pool was painted, so we know?
But that doesn't impede opening the pool right now.
No, I know, but it's just a conflict of what previous to COVID was budgeted for and after
Well,
COVID. That's all.
Why does it matter? We're here now.
Okay, we're still here in the middle of the pandemic, is that correct?
We're on a downswing in New York State. That is correct. And the country is suffering greatly. Correct.
Okay, all right. Cathy, I would like the plan as soon as possible. I need to see this plan.
Cathy, I want to add in, you and I had also discussed briefly, if the pool were to open in segments, meaning to say, like, residents could sign up maybe on the internet or whatever to get into slot 1 for that day, whatever. I'm just going to make up hours. These are not necessarily the hours we discussed, but let's say 9 to 11 a.m. And then the pool would close from 11 to 12 for sanitization. And then it could open for a 1 o'clock session, 1 to 3, and then 3 to 4 be closed, and then 5 to 7 and so forth. That kind of arrangement, whatever the hours would be. I'm just picking random numbers right now. But we figured out, you and I briefly talked, that if the guards that you normally have on duty part of their rotation is so that they can take breaks, and they go to different jobs. That, you know, there's three lifeguard seats, plus they also handle the time that in the office where they normally would be collecting passes or whatever. But there's different things in their rotation, whether it's cleaning, whatever they have to do. They cycle from one to another. I think you said 20-minute intervals, if I'm not mistaken. So what I had suggested was, because you had 8 guards, and we're not talking the head guard now, but just the regular 8 guards is what was needed to cover each day in full, so that everyone could take their breaks and get 3 20-minute breaks over the course of a day. I was suggesting to you that what if we were closed 3 times for an hour during the day, that the breaks could be included in those other breaks. In other words, let's say half of the guards that are on duty could take a break during one of those breaks, while the other half of the guards are dealing with the sanitization process. And then at the next break time, they flip-flop who is taking a break, but that it wouldn't impact then the period that the pool is open, and we might need less guards because we wouldn't be covering breaks as part of the pool, because it's not if it wouldn't be a continuous operation. So I think, I was trying to get, or hope to get from you, how many guards would be necessary in that circumstance where they don't need to cover each other's breaks. And I'm hoping that that's something you can provide.
I can look at that. I just caution you, Steve, that if that's something that the board is looking to do, and you're looking to charge the residents the same amount of money that you would for a pass, and you're going to let people in at 2-hour intervals, that will not be a fair way for people to enjoy the pool. So I will look at those options of doing guards for every 2 hours and then taking a break. Again, they have to come off the stand out of the sun. That's a requirement that they need to do because they're in the sun. But are you suggesting going 2 hours, closing?
No. I'm saying they would still go on their 20-minute rotations or whatever it is. So 20 minutes in the sun, 20 minutes in the office, 20 minutes maintenance, whatever it is that they do, and keep rotating through that way. And then when it comes time for the 1 hour break, they could take half their break, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, while the other half are working, and then flip-flop for the other half of that break. So I was thinking something along those lines, where they would just have their breaks essentially at the same time. You wouldn't need as many guards because they're not covering each other. That's all I was thinking.
All right, well, why don't we see what Cathy has in her plan, because I'm sure it's quite extensive, and we can go from there.
Right. I was just thinking, like, the way I was working the numbers, I think you could have quite a few fewer guards. Instead of having 8 on duty, I think you could possibly have.
All right, well,
5 or 6.
let's see what we have. Hey, may I ask Rob Magrino, are you there?
Yes.
Did any pools open in your domain?
Orangetown doesn't have a pool, so.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
They use the South Orangetown pool. I'm sorry. Sirens are going by. I know Rampo has opened.
Yes.
The mayor may know, I believe. I'm trying to think. I thought Clarkstown was open, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But
okay, but you've not had to deal with pool openings on your side of.
No.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Cathy, I still had this question about what this other $5,000 in maintenance is for. You had $3,840 for the morning cleanups. Is this other $5,000 really just to get the pool ready for the season?
Well, yes, I would say yes, it's ready for the season. The $10,000, again, what we're working off originally, I apologize, Michael, I'm trying to find where I saw it. 5,000, I thought I saw somewhere for maintenance of a number that you had pulled, and I'm not able to answer what that 5,000 is for.
Well, the only other area that wouldn't be 5,000 exactly was the last 3 years spending history. I don't have that in front of me. I don't know if anybody has that spreadsheet in front of them, what it said for maintenance costs for the last 3 years. I don't know if that approximated. How much was that?
Pool area maintenance, 7,200 in fiscal year 18, 3,800 in fiscal year 19, 4,400 as an estimate for this year. And then on Cathy's spreadsheet, again, it's lumping out together all these other costs and it's coming up to 18,000. That's,
Well, no, I mean, I'm trying to understand where Cathy might have seen $5,000. And the
Oh,
only
I
thing
see.
I can think of is if in the last 3 years, if that was an average of the last 3 years, actual, which it could be, it sounds like it's going to be close.
it could, yeah, it's close. If you take it, yeah, you discount the 18 estimate on this spreadsheet, yeah, it's close to 5.
It looks like a 3-year average.
And again,
Yeah,
your other question to the maintenance, Paul, on the bottom there, the maintenance is a staff people. It's 2 high school or college students that come in and get the pool ready in the morning. So that has nothing to do with supplies. That has nothing to do with equipment. That has nothing to do with fixing. It's only the maintenance people. So when I have staff of lifeguards, the wording could be staff of maintenance. And that would be
Okay.
the maintenance coming in for getting the pool ready.
Okay, but in previous years, if that's pool area maintenance, that would be in those numbers I just quoted that averaged out to be 5,000 a year. So this might be double counted in this list. This 3,800
No,
is
that's,
part of what the 5,000 has averaged the past few years.
I
no,
don't believe so.
that's the average of the maintenance to open the pool, Paul. That's a 3-year running average. As you said, 72, 38, and 43 comes up to 15. That's a 3-year average. She's including that as 5,000. In the previous budget, what was submitted for, in this year's budget, submitted for was 18,000. That's what it was. It was knocked down to 10. The 18,000 was including painting
Right.
of the pool, the entire pool.
Right.
Did-
All right, so
Okay.
why don't we all look at Cathy's spreadsheet?
Yes.
And we know the numbers aren't going to be exactly what we're looking at. They're not going to be quite as high. We'll get some more finite answers. And I believe that we need to have conversations about what we're going to do here and figure out, what is the right thing to do for the village and its residents and what's safe and sound for everyone.
Just to chime in, I know I talked to Charlie about this, so Charlie, you can confirm. We had talked about basically figuring out what it would cost in terms of selling pool passes, maybe raising the price some, even though it would be less access to the pool, and figuring out what the break-even point is and say, well, if we need to sell, I'm just picking a number here, 400 passes to break even, and that may not be the number. I'm just using this now as we're discussing, and we put it out for opening, possibly. If we only sold 300, it can't open, and we refund everyone's money. In other words, basically, we only should even consider opening the pool if, in fact, it's financially prudent to do so without dipping into the budget. Now, the question that Cathy brought up, if we have shifts, let's say where people can book 2-hour shifts and whatnot, people might be less interested, but on the other hand, they might be more interested because there's no other activities for them to do that they feel comfortable doing. Maybe. I'm just throwing this out there. That's why I agree with where we started. We've gone full circle. I think it should be up to the residents. I don't think it should be up sort of to dictate to them, what the story is.
True.
I think you need to, once again, consider, being financially prudent, as you stated, and also being coronavirus proof. You can't just be focused. The main reason why you were not opening or funding the pool was due to the coronavirus. The coronavirus still exists. It is on the increase. We need to flatten that curve even more. These are the things that we need to look at. So in Cathy's plan, which she will be providing to us shortly, we will see what's in there.
Yes, safety first and residents' happiness,
Right.
1.5.
I agree. Safety first, absolutely, and that's without saying that goes without saying.
Cathy,
Yes.
Okay, we're done with the pool. Is that correct? Does anyone have any further on the pool?
No, let's move on.
Okay, Cathy, let's get the plan. Come down to the office and get the plan and give it to me. And
To
email
all of
it to
us.
the board.
To the board, right?
Right, yeah, I said give it to me. I'm here in Village Hall.
Okay,
I
so
want it
can
now,
she
and then
email it to all of us?
It's going to be emailed to the board from Cathy. I want Cathy right now to get the plan to me. This is too much of an important issue.
Okay.
Cathy,
Yes, I hear you, Mayor.
you coming down?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
All right, fire department time?
Hold on, let me get the agenda. Okay, Chief Kaufer, is he available?
I am here,
All right, Chief, how you doing?
surviving.
All right, thank you.
3 items on the agenda. The first one is an application from Brianna Salmon, daughter of ex-Chief John Salmon, to join the Volunteer Host Company as a 16, 17-year-old member.
Wow, that's nice. Okay, so we'll present that at the meeting.
The next agenda item is we're requesting permission to obtain estimates for the AC unit at the replacement of the air conditioning unit at the Volunteer Hose Company and the boiler at the Hook and Ladder. As some of you may know, the air conditioner at the hose company has been a constant issue throughout the years. We keep on dumping money into it and nothing seems to be working. We had budgeted this year for some repairs to the bathroom, which were approved. And those repairs were actually caused, or those damages were caused by the air conditioning unit, which when the building was designed was poorly designed. They put the condenser unit in the attic space directly over the bathroom, and the water consistently leaks into that bathroom. The boiler at the Hook and Ladder had some issues this past winter. We were able to limp it along, but it's definitely going to need replacement. That's original with the building in 1982.
Okay, and that's included in the adopted budget and the capital projects plan.
That was listed under the proposed capital projects plan. That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah, Mayor, for the board to get that underway, we would have to do the same process as the other capital projects, which is number one, we would get a bond resolution that the board would adopt, and then the board would also adopt a project. And then we'd have to see what the life of that asset is, whether it's the boiler or the HVAC. If it's more than 10 years, I believe we need a permissive referendum period, which is 30 days, followed by an estoppel period of 20. If it doesn't need permissive referendum, it's only a 20-day period. But in any event, what I can do, if the board wants to move forward with both of those items, if the fire chief would send me the list, estimate of what those would cost, so we could then go to the bond council and get a bond resolution for the board.
Okay, I don't have a current estimate, but I will make contact with some HVAC companies.
Okay,
in the
so
area
this will
that I know the
probably,
village has worked
it'll
with.
probably go it'll probably go before the board in August then. And,
Okay.
and then typically on how things work, it may pass by September or
Okay.
August or September, okay?
I mean, the building is kind of warm now. The lowest we can get it is the 75, but I understand the periods of time that are needed to get this completed, so we'll deal with it.
Jeremy, I have some questions about this AC situation.
Mhm.
So do you have any idea from the work that you've done in the past, is the issue with the duct work, for instance, or is the issue with the actual compressor, condenser, something like that?
It's the actual compressor and condenser.
Okay. I don't know the system, and I'm not an air conditioning repair person in any case, but I understand obviously there's a condenser is on one end and the compressor is on the other end. They work in tandem, and you mentioned both items might be of issue. Is it possible that only one of them needs to be replaced, for instance?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm just going off of what we've been told in the past.
And how
From
old,
some of
how old is this air conditioning system? And-
25 years.
Oh, okay, so it is considerably old. Now, you said it's been having a lot of problems for quite a while. So did it work correctly at one point and then it fell out of repair and it just has not been feasible to?
That's correct. I mean, I've been in the Chiefs ranks since 2015. So since then, it's been year after year, it's been consistent repairs to it. I can't speak for any periods before that when it stopped actually working properly.
But the repair people, is it like, I don't know if it's the same people that you keep calling back? Are they stumped or they say, oh,
Oh, no, they know what the problem is, and their recommendation is instead of dumping money into every year, we're just better off replacing it.
I see. So in other words, when they repair it, it works for a period of time and then it fails again. Is that kind
Correct.
of?
Correct.
Okay, again, I'm not an air conditioning repair person, but just from.
Yeah, myself neither. I can get a full evaluation report from some of the people we get estimates for the board.
It would be helpful to pass it to the board. But it just sounds, if it's something that works for a while and then stops working later, that to me sounds like a leak, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that all has to be evaluated by one of the professionals and get an
Correct.
estimate from
Correct.
Mr. Genito, and we'll move on with that.
Right.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Jeremy, which firehouse was this one at again?
So the heating and air conditioning is the hose company. The boiler is the hook and ladder.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Chief.
And the last item on the agenda, I guess maybe more directed towards Charles, whether or not the parking lots at both firehouses will be included in the paving projects this year. I know we've asked year after year after year, and
Yes. All right, Charles, are you online? Mr. Sawicki?
Okay, here I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, took a while to unmute myself. Okay. Well, it's something that we have looked at in the past, most recently in the last couple of years. And can it be done? It could. I mean, it just comes down to money. And I'm not sure how the paving projects will play out this year. I know, based on the mayor's directive, we're not going to be spending money on certain things. So I don't know how that will play out. So
okay,
we certainly can look at it, and if we're going to do paving and the board, agrees with doing the firehouses, we certainly can do it.
okay.
Mike Genito here. Just a quick one. Paving of a parking lot is a little different than paving of a street. So the paving of the parking lot, the board would have to go through that same process to approve the project, get an estimate of what it costs, and get a bond counsel to develop the bond resolution for us. It would have to be a capital project for paving parking lots. Right now, the resolutions you passed in the past actually took care of the Village Hall parking lot, and there's money that was approved for the Lot B, the main municipal lot there in the center of town.
So it would be considered a capital project. You would have to do the same process, Chief, go out and get estimates on all the paving work.
Okay.
All righty?
And I will work hand in hand with Charles on that.
Yes, and Michael.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, and that's all.
Hey, Jeremy, just a clarifying question. We said on the HVAC, was that the whole system that needed to replace, or just the air handler inside?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer for that. I will find out from the HVAC people, though.
Okay.
I do believe, if my memory serves me correct, that the compressor may have been replaced a number of years ago. The condenser that's in the attic crawl space is original with the building. That I can guarantee. I have to check on the compressor.
Just a quick note to the board, only because my dad was an air conditioning guy. A 25-year-old compressor is using a different type of Freon than what's out there now, and it'd be much harder to get that old Freon. They typically are going to recommend replacing everything because of the newer Freon, and actually it's going to be more energy efficient.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Chief?
Nope, that's all. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
Keep up the good work. You guys are doing a great job at that brush fire there on Orange Avenue during the week.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that was good. All right. Thank you.
All right,
Have a good
Take
night.
care. You too.
Police Department Chief Osborn.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. I just have literally one thing on the agenda. I'd spoken to yourself and Amy about this. This started pre-corona, probably back in January, in regards to our towing policy. We're just trying to upgrade it. What we're looking to do, Mayor, I think we spoke about this at length at one point, is just upgrade our towing policy to have some more, I guess, modernize our procedures, how we use the tow trucks, how we take them off the list. Just update it. Really just needs an update. That's it. Just a public hearing for that.
All right. Sounds good. Anything else?
Honestly, I'll give you my update instead of giving it to you guys twice. I know it's been a long meeting already. I'll just give you my update Monday night.
Okay.
Tonight. If that's okay with you guys, I'll report everything then.
All right. Once again, I just want to speak about the police department and these troubling times of protest. We need to step up and stand behind our police departments and not tie their hands. We need to support all of our local police across the United States, across New York State, here in the village of Suffern and in the county. Please support our police department as I do. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Chief, I just want to ask a question. Actually, we talked personally about it, but I just want to do this for the benefit of the board because I really didn't have a chance to discuss this with the board. A resident had approached me about the question of body-worn cameras for the officers. So I know I spoke to you. I got the impression that the expense of all the editing that would be required to turn to the district attorney would be kind of expensive. But nonetheless, I was hoping just for the benefit of the board, if you could speak to what the costs would be for that sort of thing, as well as the cameras themselves, if we ever had to go in that direction, or if you wanted to go, if the board wanted to go in that direction.
Steve, I would not know the cost. I know it's a lot, but we have, no one in Rockland County uses them. So I would not have a specific cost. I just know it's expensive at one point. Maybe probably a few years back, Steve, when it was spoken about statewide. And I think the issue came up about what can be redacted, what shouldn't be redacted. Medical calls be released, should suicidal family members be released? Is that stuff you want out there? That was a big issue, Stephen. On the price, it was a lot for the storage also. I just don't have a cost. It was a while ago.
Right. Again, I like I said, I just wanted to present it just for the benefit of the board because a resident approached me. That's all.
Of course.
I believe, just to be clear, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, that the mandate only applies to New York State police officers?
That's correct. Under the new criminal justice reform, it's correct. It's the way they worded it originally. We thought it might be all New York State officers, but it's New York State troopers is what it's for.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
All right. Thank you.
Just something, Chief, it's Paul. Just something the Chief and I spoke about earlier, and we brought it up at budget time, and maybe it's a good time to discuss it now, is we just want to make sure that, we're managing the police overtime as best we can throughout the year, because we cut that number pretty significantly from what it originally was in the 2020 budget. What we had suggested at that time is that, maybe that the chief could come to each workshop and just kind of update us on what the overtime was for the previous month. So if we were looking at, hypothetically, if we did it today, which we're not, but hypothetically, if we asked the chief to come and report overtime, an update on the monthly overtime, it would be for May's overtime. So not for June, which is just ending today. So we would give him ample opportunity, but we would just want to understand, the amount of overtime, and this could be in a report format that I could help the chief with, but really just to understand, what the daily overtime was, what the amounts were, and, you know, what the principal drivers of the overtime, whether it was people that called out sick, were out on vacation, were out for training, some event occurred in the village that required higher staffing, something to that effect, so that we collectively as a board understand where the overtime is as throughout the year. Don't want to add too much work to the chief in terms of doing this, but just want to, you know, we want us to all collectively have a sense of how we're trending on overtime throughout the year, so that, you know, we just understand where our risks to the budget are and how we're trending. So I don't know if anybody has any comments about that, including the chief.
Well, Paul, I obviously answer to the board, and obviously I speak to you guys pretty regularly if you have any questions. So I think that's more of a decision for you guys. I think I did convey the fact that the way our system works, the lieutenant or myself, mostly lieutenant, will approve the overtime and the reason for it. But the way the system prints out the reports, it doesn't give what it's for. We'd have to I don't know if we'd have to get into the system or we'd have to do it to make that happen. We conveyed that to you. That's just what you don't want to convey to you guys. Obviously, overtime, you know, it's an issue due to the fact with several officers down, numerous, went through a pandemic. Even to be honest with you, during the pandemic, killing us right now is these virtual arraignments. We're doing arraignments virtually in a police station that are taking hours. I have to keep somebody inside to keep an eye on the prisoner, set up to send paperwork to the DA's office, judge, the defense attorney. So it's really pretty trying, I'll be honest with you. These mandates that we're going through, in particular the fact that we're shorthanded. So I would just throw it out there and leave it to the board for you guys, obviously.
So to those points, Chief, I agree, and you know, just to have the board be made aware of the controls that are in place by the monitoring of the overtime, by the supervisors in the police department, the additional mandates that are forced upon us, unfunded mandates, and along with the shorthandedness in the police department, keeping our overall budget down with less staffing. Now, either we can go and move forward to reduce the overtime with hiring additional officers, or, you know, look at the controls that are in place. And I'm sure that those controls are tight and tightly monitored by the lieutenants and the chief. And once again, let's not tie our police department's hands. Let's support our police department. They keep our village safe and protect every one of our citizens in this village.
Mayor, I don't think anyone's looking to tie the hands of the police at all. I think that the request that Paul was making, Mr. Girard was making, is a valid one, and I'm in agreement with it. I think it would be important for the chief to apprise the board each month and the public so that they'd hear it. That way it's transparent about the amount of overtime that's generated in the prior month after you have figures for the month. I don't think it's unreasonable to provide that information. And I'd like to know if Mr. Barone and Ms. Corrigan would agree with that.
Yeah, we're not looking, we're looking to come in on budget with, you know, everything we're talking about. Look at the challenges we're having on the relatively smaller funds for the pool. We're looking to come in. I'm just looking at this as a means of all of us being aware how we're trending to our budget for overtime. I'm not advocating that we reduce overtime. I'm not saying this is a means of reducing overtime. I'm not looking to hire more police officers. I'm looking to come in on budget. Police costs are 55% of our budget. So I'm looking at ways to be continuously apprised of how we're trending, because every year it seems that Mike has to come to us and say, you know, whether it's 8 months in, 10 months in, to say, hey guys, we need to move some money to overtime because we're trending over. That might still need to occur. Depends on what happens throughout the year. I just want us all to be aware of it throughout the year rather than only become aware of it when we need to add funds to it.
That's fine, but you just made a statement. How are we coming in on budget? This is what you're coming in on budget. That's what you're looking for to balance the budget on the overtime cost. When you're going to open up a pool that you didn't fund, it just doesn't make sense in that fashion. But just keep in mind, the whole entire board, and I guess some of you may know, police overtime is mostly unknown. There are unknowns of police overtime in regards to staffing, arrest, everything that you could think of. So just keep that in mind. I'm just getting a little tired of people coming out after the police departments in every fashion, from whatever it may be, monitoring their overtime to defunding them.
I think it's a.
Yeah,
I understand your point. Point well taken.
It's an interesting spin, Mr. Mayor. I'm not asking us to predict what the overtime is going to be. I'm asking, it's very easy to understand what it is after it's happened. Okay, and that's what, you know, that's what I'm asking. Okay, is that we report that out monthly so we all are aware of how it's trending.
Okay.
Can I just ask, I'd asked a question before, I didn't get a reply. Ms. Corrigan and Mr. Barone, are you in agreement that we should be getting a report from Chief Osborn each month at the workshop?
I thought it was a good idea.
I would like to think about it. I mean, I think if we're running into trouble, Clarke is the first one, or Chief of Police, sorry, is the first one that's going to raise his hand and let us know what's going on. I think right now with everything going on, I would like time to think about it. I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable with our police department, and I would like to have an agreement that if there's something that looks like it's not going to be okay, that we sort of get on the same page altogether.
Understood. But having said that, 3 out of 5 board members are in favor of getting a monthly update. So I'm hoping that Chief Osborn can provide that in the future.
It'll have to be done manually by a lieutenant, but I will tell a lieutenant he has to do it as per the board's orders. Advice tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get a first look at this at the next month's workshop, if we could. And that would be for the month of June. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, no problem.
Mr. Sawicki, Department of Public Works, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. All right, the first item would be establishing the position of clerk for the DPW administration and appointing Daniel Curtin to the position of clerk effective July 7th, 2020. The next item.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I was unmuting. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Sawicki.
Okay.
So the first item was establishing the position of clerk for the DPW administration and appointing Daniel Curtin. Okay. Does the board have any questions in regards to that?
No.
Okay, Mr. Sawicki, number 2.
Actually, I'm sorry, I had a question. Is this a change in salary or any kind of change that we should be aware of?
Yes, I believe the resolution was attached to the agenda, and I believe it spells it all out. Actually, unfortunately, I don't have that right in front of me, but there is a salary increase because there is a position promotion for Danielle. And I believe the salary is spelled out in that resolution. I don't know if you have that.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we budget that, Charles?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the next item, authorizing payments for application number 3 to National Water Main Cleaning Company for the Phase 2 sanitary sewer replacement project in the amount of $8,389.26. Any questions regarding that?
Just a quick question. So this is payment number 3 of phase 2. How many more payments are involved in this?
Okay.
Paid.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the final payment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is for the Wayne Avenue sidewalk project. Initially, we had conversations with the local resident engineer for the DOT, who indicated that the New York State DOT would be the lead agency and would create the and fill out the SECRA request. That changed. They deferred it to the Village of Suffern. So I did fill out the short environmental form, conferred with Rob Magrino. And Rob, did you want to elaborate on that?
Yes, so I just got, Charles did ask me about this. He sent me further information today, so I'll have a resolution ready to go for Tuesday night.
Okay. Any additional questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, stand by.
Hey, Charles, are you staying on for the rest of the meeting?
Maybe I lost the here it is.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thanks. I might have a question when we get to the trustees section.
Okay, next, the treasurer, Mr. Genito.
Yes, Mayor, the first 4 items under mine all deal with the same thing. Basically, when the board adopted the budget, one of the proposed capital projects, and as you know, you don't actually adopt the capital projects at that point, they're just listed. 2 of those projects were the purchase of a police vehicle and the purchase of police cameras, predominantly for the vehicles. The first item is authorizing a bond resolution to finance the purchase of those 2 items. The next thing is to establish the capital project for those 2 items. And then authorizing the purchase of the police vehicle under a Westchester County governmental contract, which doesn't require bids because it's a governmental contract. And the other one is authorizing the purchase of police cameras, which is under the Houston-Galveston Area Council governmental contract. As you know, back in September of 2019, the village board authorized participation in the HGAC contracts, being governmental contracts, and that was for the purchase of the fire truck, if you recall. So that's what the 4 resolutions or the first 4 items are. The next item on the list is authorizing a transfer of funds from the general fund to the capital project for the Wayne Avenue sidewalks. Charles Sawicki had put in or submitted a claim or voucher, which would exceed the project costs. And that authorization is to allow $4,500 to be transferred from the general fund to the capital projects fund to cover that cost. And that's all we have.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Genito. You're not adopting the resolution tonight for the bond. It's on Monday, is that correct?
Monday is fine.
Okay, Monday is fine.
Tuesday.
Actually, I should say, was that Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tuesday, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Okay, trustees update.
I'd like a turn.
Mr. Barone?
I've been working with Mike Genito and Fred Rella and O&R and trying to work out a plan to present to the board on LED light conversions in the village you know, I hope that I can have something to present to them by the end of the summer. I'd also talk to the people who run Rhino Comedy, and I asked them if the village could create an open air venue for them, would they like to perform? And they were very excited to do that. So maybe I could pass that ball to Cathy Mills and work something out where either we give them time at the gazebo or they set up a stage on the diamond at the ball field, and everyone walks down to the ball field with folding chairs and sits and listens to the comedians. But they'd be excited to perform. And the third thing I wanted to ask is the facade on Village Hall. That wood facade that was removed, I guess it must have been rotting and falling down. And there is money to fix it, but the money to fix it may not be enough. I was wondering if we could simply caulk up the cracks in the brick and ask someone from DPW to go up in the cherry picker with a roller or a spray gun and some paint and just paint the bricks the color that the facade was, at much less cost to the village than actually replacing it with wood.
Okay. I know that we had that in a capital project, the facade upgrade. I believe that's in there. Is that correct, Charles, that we had a capital project planned for it? Mr. Sawicki?
Yes, we did. And early on, we were debating on how we were going to approach it and trying to keep the historical look of the building or not. And obviously trying to do that does potentially add more cost. But we certainly could look at other options, less expensive options, somewhere, along the lines what Mr. Barone had suggested, and seeing if, in fact, that is doable.
Charles, I know that we spoke, I believe, in the, when was it, last fall, when they were doing the building across from the library. What building is that? I forget the name of the building, right across from the library and the hospital, when they were doing the facade work there.
Right.
Whole building.
The Cole building, when they did the facade at the Cole building, I think that's what we should be looking into. See if we could get somebody down here to give us an estimate or what's involved in replacing that facade in the manner that they did on the Cole building.
All right, we certainly can do that.
Okay. And the LED conversion, I know I spoke with you, Mr. Barone. I think that's a great idea. If we can continue those conversations, I know you went down. I think you spoke with someone in Haverstraw and O&R. I think that's a great idea. If it's a cost savings and a short buyback period, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Just to chime in about LED stuff, I know that oh gee, my mind is running a blank, but Sandy Stead, that's the name I was looking for, right here in the village, does that sort of work as well. So you might want to check with her. I know she serves on one of our boards here in the village. I believe
She is one of my consultants.
So I just wanted to suggest you get her involved because she has a lot of experience.
He is one of my consultants.
The other thing, are you done, Charlie?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I wanted to ask a few things. I know Mr. Rella is very excellent at getting grants. I was wondering if there might possibly be any grants that could be available for the cameras that we're looking to replace on the dashboard cameras on the police cars. If there's any kind of grants that are available for things like that. That was one of my questions. I don't know if Mr. Rella is on here, but perhaps he could speak to that.
Mr. Rella is with us. I don't know if he can unmute himself.
I see him.
Let's give him 1 minute to see if he can. I'll ask him to unmute again.
Hello?
Fred, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Fred.
Yes. I could check into that. There's a number of venues that you could check into with the federal government and state government where these type of opportunities are available. So I'll have to find out a little bit more detail about what specifically we're looking for as far as cameras, like the amount of vehicles and the like, and then I can speak to certain parties and then get back to you.
That would be great. Thank you. It would be great to be able to help fund some of that instead of laying it on the backs of the village residents. If there's any.
One thing I like to say is, grants, it's not like you request something and then you get it next week, so there is a time period involved. Typically, if there's a grant available today, it could be around 6 months before the monies actually become available for us. And 95% of the grants are reimbursement grants. So the monies would still have to be put out, but then we get reimbursed for them. But I'll keep you posted.
I appreciate it. Thanks. It would be great if you looked into that. Another thing I wanted to follow up on, we had that special meeting a few weeks ago for the restaurants, and I was curious, Mayor, how many restaurants have been able to avail themselves? And I'm hoping that this has been very successful for the businesses as well. I was hoping you could provide an update on that.
The update on the number of restaurants?
Well, roughly. I mean, is it like 5 restaurants? Is it 15?
Oh, no, it has to be 12,
Almost all of them.
15.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
A very successful program, thanks to the village clerk and the recreation staff. Elaine really helped out. Amy Paffenroth did a great job. We really went to each restaurant owner. The building department was there doing inspections. It really did turn out very well. It was a great thing for the village of Suffern.
That's great. I'm really glad that was so successful. That's excellent news. The last thing I wanted to bring up, it was something that I've sort of heard through the grapevine. I just want to suggest to the mayor, I understand that you've taken some vacations lately, and I understand, and that's fantastic that you've been able to do that. But seeing as I serve as deputy mayor, I should be aware when you're out of town so that I don't also leave town in case something emergency-wise comes up. And it would be good, if you are going to leave town, to just send me an email, shoot me a call, whatever. It'd be good to keep me in the loop, Mayor.
Every time I leave the village?
No, I don't mean like
Oh.
you leave the village for a minute. I mean, if you're going away for a week on vacation or something like that. I don't mean for a few hours, few days. If you
I
go
haven't gone on vacation for a week.
Okay, I was under the understanding that you were on vacation for over a week lately.
No, well, to put it this way, we'd really have to discuss the inability or in the absence to serve. So that would be the requirement of the deputy mayor coming in to undertake the role, to, not to act as, but undertake the role. It's in the absence or the inability to serve.
Right.
So that would have to be defined, but I'll keep that in mind.
I'm just suggesting that it's a good idea to keep me in the loop,
Sure.
just so I don't leave town at the same time. That's
Well,
all.
actually, the whole board should know that you're on vacation, as you're the mayor, and we should know that you're out of the village for a few days. Not that we need to know where you're going, but it'd be nice to know that you aren't around. I mean, you are the mayor. It's just common courtesy.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's all I have at this moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Where else are we?
I got a couple items. So
Go ahead.
I wanted to revisit the topic of making the area around the train and the Sheldon safer. I realize at the present time, the train ridership is a fraction of what it has been, but I have all the confidence that it will come back and it will be in a busy area, pedestrian area again, and a car traffic and then the parking will, parking needs will be restored, etc. I know we looked at some proposals to make that area safer that were a little bit of a challenge to put some, some things that would prohibit people from just crossing on their own under the trestle or close to it. So, what I wanted to propose, and maybe if Charles could look at components of that estimate, because I would like to revisit looking at putting crosswalks between the Sheldon and the Sheldon as you exit Blauvelt and crosses over Chestnut as well to the other side. And I think with some of the signage that we put up in other parts of the village where there are crosswalks where there are not any signals, the signage seems to be pretty good. It seems to be, bright fluorescent. It seems to be posted high. I think it would behoove us to put a crosswalk there with signage and possibly a flashing light. And then
I'm sorry, just go back to where the location for the crosswalk.
So there is the parking entrance and exit that is on Chestnut that leaves the Sheldon, and right next to that is an ADA ramp off that sidewalk. And I would say that going across Chestnut to the other side would be one place where we could put the crosswalk and then some signage there.
But did we speak about
that?
This?
I think that was part of what, yes, that was part of what we looked at as a component. That's why I'm asking Charles maybe to look at this component of it, because we were looking at putting barriers up on the sidewalk on Chestnut to really direct people to that crosswalk physically, and also to prevent the cars parking underneath. We found that, and then we talked about a crosswalk on the other end where Chestnut and Ramapo Avenue meet, and where people walk across to the lot down by the ball field. I think it's lot F, if I'm not mistaken, if I got my alphabet.
No, that's right. That's
okay,
right.
So what I'm thinking is, in lieu of all of that barrier work and guardrail work that was proposed, along with the crosswalks, that instead do the crosswalks and put a surveillance with signage at the crosswalks, and also maybe put a camera under the trestle with signage that says there's surveillance there, to prohibit people from parking and standing at the bottom of the steps at the train, which they're not supposed to do. So I was just thinking that this might be a less costly solution that would still keep it safer than it is today, but not be such a high expense. So I was looking to see if Charles could go back and look at the components of that cost estimate. I think all in it was something in the neighborhood of $47,000, but maybe those components could be, a fraction of that, maybe a third of that, or 40% of that, and that might be a doable solution that will make it safer, but not so cost prohibitive.
Oh, if I could just jump in here. One of the things, just because I was involved in this from the beginning, I'm going to suggest the traffic engineer looks at that road, because with a crosswalk, there has to be a specific amount of visibility. There should be, so someone, when they cross the street, can safely cross. But the driver's going to need enough visibility, particularly traveling north on Chestnut. As you come underneath the trestle, there's a turn and a grade. If somebody crosses there and the driver doesn't see that crosswalk in time, it would be an issue. I think I brought that up last time. Well, obviously, before it was pre-COVID. I think a traffic engineer should look at that just to protect all of us. That's all my suggestions.
Yeah, and that's part of why I'm suggesting the signage. I mean, I know we've added signage to the crosswalk across Lafayette where Hacienda and Sushi Bada is. We put some of that signage there. It's high. It's very high visibility. I think that would help
Well, if you
yes.
don't mind, let me just chime in on that one. That, I believe, was put in by the state. Those additional signs for the crosswalks and the highly reflective material that they use. I mean, they're great ideas, but I think to get it right down, especially around the train station area, Chestnut Street and the Sheldon, we need to commission a traffic study for that particular area and see what a professional traffic engineer comes up with to develop. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, a traffic study right now would probably understate the level of traffic, given that the commuting to New York is a fraction of what it normally is.
Well, not necessarily the flow of traffic, not necessarily the flow of traffic, but the recommendations on crosswalks, the legal aspects of crosswalks, the visibilities, the sight lines. We don't have all of that information. We don't know all of that information. So I think from an engineering standpoint, I think it needs to be engineered properly, especially when we're putting in crosswalks and concerning of safety of people crossing the road. I think that's what I would recommend, a professional looking at it.
Okay, so we didn't do that as part of the last proposal that Charles drafted. We didn't include that assumption that we would have somebody look at that, or we would just do it.
I don't think we included that.
Yeah, so at that point in time, we did not include an engineering traffic study.
I mean, we could scale that right down from Chestnut Street to Ramapo Avenue to Blauvelt Way to Orange Avenue for crosswalks and pedestrians.
I think, Mayor, last time we spoke about this, Paul, I think it Charles, we were definitely all in agreement, Paul, remember we talked about the railing up on Chestnut. But with the crosswalks, we didn't make a determination based on, I think I actually said way back months ago, about the visibility line. I was just concerned. I think we weren't looking for a crosswalk at the time. We were just looking for the railing, I think is what it was.
Yeah, well, the railing and additional, and if it was right, without the crosswalk, we needed the railing. The railing was.
That's what came up at that time, correct?
Yeah, one of the things that Clarke had pointed out when we did look at that originally is the visibility, and we had talked about placing it pretty much we had to find a plateau that visibility would be acceptable. So at least going up across from the Sheldon area. So that'd be something that a traffic engineer could confirm for us,
Okay, so is there?
Okay.
Can we? Would that go out as an RFP for a traffic study, or we would get? How will we go about that, Charles?
Well, I think in the past we used McLaren.
Right.
John Lane, who had some association with them at one point. And it would be an RFP. It would be something that
professional service.
We wouldn't have, be professional services and wouldn't need to go out for bids for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll give that. We'll give that. Have some more discussion on that. Is that good, Paul?
Question about that, actually. Sorry, Paul.
Go ahead, Steve.
So I just want to ask one question. Since a lot of this involves that trestle, that's part of New Jersey Transit and whatnot, is there any chance that they would be able to share any of the costs in whatever we end up deciding based on traffic study, or even the cost of a traffic study itself? Is that something that we could approach New Jersey Transit to, become involved with?
We have in the past, Steve. We have engaged New Jersey Transit. We were told that they have the same problems we have, low cash. We had them out here numerous times. We had them walk the site. We walked under the trestle. We showed them the areas of responsibility that they need to maintain. We tried to enter into cost sharing agreement. We spoke about cost sharing agreements to no avail. I mean, it's worth another shot, but I know that NJT, well, actually, we just have a representative to the MTA now from the Rockland County legislature that may be, a good conduit into the MTA or to the NJT.
Sure. I mean, it's worth just trying, reaching out, whatever. And the other thing, of course, it's close, across the street, essentially from the Sheldon. I'm wondering if maybe they would be willing to pony up something towards it as well. I'm just looking to, again, I feel like the village residents are always shouldering every little thing that happens. And I feel like there's other funding opportunities out there, and we should definitely evaluate each of these possibilities.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sorry, Paul, I yield back to you.
All right, and then is there any update on Ed, that's to you.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What was it?
The any update on general counsel?
I should have something to you by this meeting.
By tonight?
No, sorry, Tuesday. I'm actually awaiting a response. That if I get the response, I'll present it to the board.
Okay.
And if the response is favorable, I'm sure the board will be favorable too.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
I just have one quick thing in regards to Cathy. Being it's so late, Ed, would it be all right if she just emails all of us? I mean, I know she's fine tuning some stuff. It's 9 o'clock at night. Can she just, put the input in and then, get email everything to us tomorrow? I mean, it's 9 o'clock at night. Does she really need to come down to Village Hall this evening?
Well, I want the plan.
We all do.
Initially, the plan was here, then the plan went home. I don't have the plan. This is a shame. And I will continue, Trustee Corrigan, I will continue this discussion with you after the meeting, if you don't mind. But you can email me the plan and the board, excuse me.
Even if I got the plan tonight, I don't have enough brain cells working to really judge it until I get fresh in the morning.
Is that because of all the margaritas you're having on the beach over there?
Yeah.
Are you on vacation and where are you? That's all I want to know. Are you on vacation and where are you? Because
he's in Texas. Don't you worry about him.
I'm able to do village business from Bermuda just fine.
Oh, well, okay. A lot of people all work. Let's keep that in mind, that a lot of people are working remotely. Exactly. Okay.
Okay. But is Cathy muted? Which I don't want to speak for her.
I don't see her on right now unless I'm.
All right. So I guess
when we get the email, it will be emailed to she will email it to the entire board.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Magrino.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
Cathy Mills just texted me that she wanted to be unmuted, so let me see if I can find her here.
Okay.
Okay.
She is here. I mean, I see her computer.
No, I know. I think she logged in a second time or something, so she has to be unmuted. I think
Hi,
Cathy,
everybody. Can you hear
okay?
me?
Yep.
Hi, everybody. So again, what I'm doing now is updating what I saw at Ramapo today. I wanted that to be an important factor in this. But Mayor, just to confirm, I wanted you to know that when I said my other computer, I didn't say the Village Hall computer. I said my other computer. I use my daughter's laptops because it has a speaker and it has the mic. My computer that I use at home, because I've been working at Village Hall and working at home, is the computer that this is on. So I wanted to clarify that. I didn't say it was on my work computer. I said it was on my other computer, which is the one here. I wanted to make sure that that was clear and that it was my other computer, I said, which is the one here.
Okay, and I want to make it clear that when I ask you for a document, I want the document.
Yes,
So you should
I agree.
email the document immediately as I indicated to you, without the changes, and then forward me the updated document.
As I explained to you when you called me on the phone
That's
before,
it. This is what I'm indicating to you. That's the bottom line, Ms. Mills. The document that's not updated and the document that is updated. As now, I want
Wow.
it.
Mayor and board, I need to make a statement. Can I make a statement?
Yeah,
Mayor, when you called me on the phone before, I told you I was already in the middle of it and I had already updated.
Kathy,
So the
please stop,
option of
please
not
stop
sending it to
arguing with me at the meeting. I will speak to you about it directly. I want the plan. The board wants the plan. This has gone on long enough.
There really needs to be a little more respect.
Okay.
Wow. Not acceptable.
Not acceptable for the department head not to supply the mayor or.
No, the way you speak to people, Ed.
Okay, okay. All right, Mr. Magrino, please.
Yes, I had sent a couple of items a little late, so they didn't end up getting on the agenda. One of the easier ones, I believe I sent this to the board. There's a law that was passed. Actually, this is not an executive order, but it is in relation to the COVID situation. The state legislature passed and the governor signed a law that local governments can extend the expiration dates, building permits, zoning board of appeals approvals, and planning board approvals for a period of up to 120 days. I spoke with Steve Conley, building inspector, to see if that was something that, you know, would make sense for the village. He did think so, just so you know. Generally speaking, building permits have a 1-year expiration date in Suffern. The ZBA decisions are also a year. Maybe getting mixed up. Planning board has 6 months decision. Once the planning board renders a decision, you have 6 months to get the map signed, and then once it's signed, it's valid for a period of 3 years. So, you know, not necessarily that one, but I prepared a resolution. If the board were interested, and I just kind of want to get a feel from the board if it's interested in doing that, about extending that time period. Again, Steve is not on, but I think it's helpful both to the to applicants and those who got approvals, as well as the building department and the boards, you know, just to kind of have that extension so that people can, you know, continue with whatever construction. Obviously, as you recall, the construction was halted for a period of time. So that's the reasoning behind the authorization for up to 120 days if the village board is inclined to do that.
I think that's a good recommendation for the extension to apply across the board. How does the board feel?
No concerns here. That sounds fine.
Okay.
None here.
Mr.
I'm fine with
Barone? Steve, you were good with it?
I'm fine with it.
And Charles?
I'm fine with it, even though I am anxious to get Sheldon 2.0 going.
Okay. All right. So if you could prepare that, Mr. Magrino?
Yes, you'll have a resolution ready to go.
120 days.
Yes, and the another one that I'm going to ask you to look at, the former Vale Estates project. It's at 175 Lafayette Avenue. It's now called Stone Castle. It's across from the hospital over there. It was approved by the planning board. One of the requirements by the planning board was for the applicant to make a community benefit donation, in essence, of off-site amenities in the form of benches and receptacles, trash receptacles throughout the village. So they sent a check for $15,000 to cover that cost, so that it came in, we'll deposit it, and then Charles will go out and buy the the benches and the equipment that the planning board approved. So that's
Benches and trash receptacles.
trash receptacle, right?
Right. You know, also in that, was there a covenant on there? I don't know, is it called a covenant in regards to the discount for first responders and military? I remember speaking about that.
Yes. Yeah, they have submitted that, a 5% discount in the rent.
Right. Okay, good.
So they have submitted that covenant. Once I get the original, I'll put that on for board approval. And frankly, if I have everything by next Monday, I'll try to, if the board doesn't have a problem putting it out without workshopping it, I could put that on as well. Just to, it's a pro forma issue just to accept it once I review it and it's sufficient.
Okay. Review and approve. Okay.
And then the only other, well, I had one or two other items. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the time frame for public speaking at meetings and or the recent executive order. So it's come up about, and I know it's come up in the past about if the board wants to implement a policy with respect to public comment at the meetings. If the board, right now, at least for as long as I've been here, there really is no time limit for speakers. So if the board is so inclined, many municipalities do impose a time limit on the public portion. And again, public portion is really not, it is not a legal requirement to have comment at these meetings. Obviously, it's a good idea to have it. It's an opportunity for folks to speak. But again, many municipalities have a time limit. Some are 3 minutes. I know one in particular is 3 minutes for those types of meetings. And then generally speaking, 5 minutes for a matter that's a formal public hearing. So if the board is inclined to entertain something like that or wants to impose that policy, it should do so by resolution. So again, that's if the board wants to discuss that tonight or kind of consider it and let me know how you want to go, we can do that.
I think that's a great recommendation. I've been to other board meetings that policy has been implemented and it seems to work fine. And I believe that it would be discretionary to allow any speaker to continue, or do you really just abide by the 3 minute or 5 minute rule?
Well, I mean, generally speaking, you could grant discretion to go longer. And the reason is not necessarily to, prohibit or limit people in speaking. It's to, so that, frankly, so that the meetings don't go so long that the public is not, this is one reason. Many members of the public may tune out if one person goes, too long. It kind of keeps the meetings under control a little bit. Again, it's a policy decision for the board if they're interested in putting on some type of time limit.
I'm not opposed to time limits, but I don't know if 3 minutes is enough for anybody, especially if someone's not used to speaking in public. I would be more inclined to maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and just make it across the board, like not make it for any other reason than, make it across the board. And if there's subjects that need to be hammered out a little bit more, then maybe we change it for that. But I don't know that 3 minutes gives anybody enough time. I just my personal opinion, I would rather see 5 to 6 minutes.
I think I could take 5 minutes of getting mud slung at me.
Yeah, right? I know.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've had some long meetings. I don't think it's because of audience participation. Personally, I don't think we should limit the residents to what they have to say, and I don't really see that it's been an issue for us. That's my opinion.
Well, some have been. So I would pose at least 6 to 7 minutes, and I would like that.
5 minutes across the board, 5 minutes for regular meetings, 5 minutes for public hearing. What does the board say to that?
I'm okay with it.
Well, where I have concern is what about things that sort of are question and answer kind of thing? In other words, a resident has a question about something, the board member, or the board, I should say, answers the question, and then that yields a follow-up. by the resident? I mean, does that start a new clock? You know, that sort of thing. So I that's all I would like to think about.
Well, just in addressing that, Steve, you know, in some municipalities, what the board asks, and this kind of answers your question a little bit. They'll say, look, ask all of your questions, and at the end, we'll answer them. Again, that may be frustrating. Admittedly, that's frustrating for some of the public that there's not the back and forth. So, but I've also seen it where you do have the questions, and you know the person's 3 minutes or 5 minutes are up, and the board, the mayor or supervisor may say, I'll let you go because we took 2 of your minutes answering your question. So, it's more of a policy situation.
All right, so
All of this could be the discretion of the board and the mayor at the time. And if a person is not abusing their right to speak, then choose not to stick it to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, again, you get into a situation of fairness, and the reason to set the policy is so that everybody understands it's 5 minutes. It gives everybody an opportunity to speak. People may be watching on TV. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe meetings will be held in this fashion, so even more people can participate or watch. So, again, I would say, yeah, in given situations, it may go over, but again, the more times you deviate from the policy, the more teeth it has, so to speak.
Just to add to what you just said, I do think personally, if we ever resume in-person meetings, I think, my opinion, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but I think we should also continue to have Zoom involved in those meetings, because it's been great that residents can get involved from the comfort of their home and they don't have to be out in person, maybe in bad weather or whatever the case may be. It's been a good opportunity to actually get public involvement in this process we call government. I think this has been incredible. It's better, I think, on Zoom than in person, quite frankly.
Yeah, as I would anticipate, I'd anticipate the state will at some point, by not necessarily executive order, some type of legislation, allow this, format. In the past, the format, board members really weren't allowed to appear remotely. They were, but it was under very difficult parameters. So obviously this is a much easier, but yeah, I would expect that this will be allowed. This is only allowed really under executive order right now.
Right. No, I'm not talking about for the board members necessarily if we were to ever resume in person. I'm talking about for the residents. I think this is a great tool to allow the residents to participate even if they can't attend in person for one reason or another.
Right.
Yes, and just keep in mind that during the regular board meeting, if we did choose to do both, we would need to manage the board meeting at the village hall, and then we would need someone to manage the Zoom meeting. So you would look at 2 different managers to say.
I mean, the manager could be Mike, as it always has been here, or it could even be one, a board member on the dais. I mean, it doesn't really matter who's doing the management, but it being able to type the public, like if someone has a question from the audience over Zoom through the PA, that would be great. Just that way, everyone there can hear it, and the people outside that are not there, that are doing Zoom, could still get their questions answered without having to come to a board meeting in person.
Okay. All right, we'll explore that.
All right, so why don't we just table the timeline and think about it and what makes sense for now?
Okay, that sounds good.
And the last thing, Mayor, I was going to mention, things have changed again. I want to just mention the governor's executive order with respect to the police. The chief executive and the chief of every municipality that has a police department is now required to engage stakeholders in the community, basically form a committee to review, police operations. So, I'm shortening it, but so that's just something I'm mentioning tonight for everyone to consider. But it specifically mentions the chief executive officer. In our case, it would be the mayor, and the police chief would get that going. That's something that people should start thinking about.
So that is even for not inner city. That is for the village of Suffern, where we have 0 issues with our police department and people.
Any municipality that has a police department.
Police reform.
Really? Oh, that is just.
So the good thing for the Village of Suffern, which I already had discussions with Osborn, is that we are here in the Village of Suffern an accredited agency. So the guidelines that are dictated by the state, we already have in place all the policies, procedures, and the general orders. But to take it a step further, as Mr. Magrino says, now we're charged with the input from the public. So we are in discussion with that already. But good thing that we are an accredited agency. We have the policies, procedures, and general orders in place. And then we'll continue to monitor and review and create this.
So who's part of that public participation at?
We didn't get that far yet. This is in the beginning stages.
Mayor, on a good note, and Joe and everybody else, as the police chiefs of Rockland County, we speak several times a week, all of us. We have our own Zoom and conference calls over similar issues like this we're dealing with. And we're gonna be speaking how to do these with all of us and put these meetings together and these panels together. So I think it's gonna be fine. Let's be realistic here. Every day I'm up in the condos, the business district, that's the neighbors talking to people anyway. So now I think it's just a matter of formally bringing it together. I think that's pretty much all that we're really going to have to do. I think it's that's going to be the biggest thing is bringing them together.
I know that you were also awaiting guidance, as you just stated, from the Police Chiefs Association and I believe the PBA also. So once we develop that, we'll have to put a plan together and then establish the committee or whatever we need to establish. So it's in the work.
I agree. And honestly, I don't think it's going to be a big issue for us. We have use of force policies basically right now, or what they were suggesting anyway. We're a little bit ahead of the curve because of the accreditation. Pretty much everything in there, we pretty much do already. So I've reviewed the executive orders. I gave a copy to the mayor. We spoke about it. There's really not a lot of changes for us, to be honest with you, besides the meeting with the community formally, which I think will be no problem at all.
I really want to stay in the knowledge of that, Ed, if you could make sure you share that.
Sure.
If you're heading that up.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Magrino, you good?
Yes. Did you want an update, the update on 27 Hillside, or?
Yeah. Yes. Please.
Well, again, just due to the coronavirus situation, obviously, things were kind of on hold for a number of reasons, but if the board is inclined, if the building department goes ahead and issues as you know, in the past, issued a notice to remedy this situation. If it wasn't taken care of, the village board has authorized, the cleanup of the property and charging taxes. I guess the question is, that hasn't been issued yet, but if it is, they'll be willing to entertain it. And again, you don't have to discuss it. It's just, that's where we are with it, that, circumstances warrant, there may be a request for that coming.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Wrap this up. Okay, the reappointing of Robert Yodowitz to serve as the prosecutor for the Village of Suffern, August 1, 2020 through July 31st, 2021. Accepting the resignation of Planning Board member Paul Gdansky, effective July 7th, 2020. Authorization for Blair Posnick, 28 First Street, to close First Street on Sunday, July 5th, 11 to 3 p.m. to hold a social distance birthday party for approximately 30 people. No, that's, hold on, I'm sorry, stand by. Right. We can't give an answer to a party for 30 people. Could be 25 people. They're asking for a birthday party and close the street for a party of 30 people. So the executive order only allows for 25 people to gather. Does the board agree, or does Mr. Glickel have any input on the gathering? Can I, oh, wait a minute.
Mr. Glickel's muted.
There you go.
Am I unmuted?
Mr. Glickel, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little low, though.
Can you hear me now?
There
Yeah.
you go.
Okay, it's 25 people indoors.
It's 100 outside.
So if it's outdoors, 30 is okay. Indoors, 25,
Okay.
assuming that they keep and maintain safe distance.
Chief Osborn, do you see an issue with 30 people on First Street and closing the street?
Mayor, not at all, not at all. They're the great neighborhood, they're good people, I know who they are. I have no issue at all, they're gonna do the right thing over there.
Okay, so this is for this Sunday. Would the board like to move a motion to allow the closure of First Street, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. to hold social distance birthday party for approximately 30 people?
Motion.
Motion trustee Alpert, second. Second, please.
Second Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan. Any discussion?
Do we have to, should we see how the neighbors feel about this? Under a COVID situation? I mean, I would imagine, you know, they're stressing a social distant party, but you know, and I guess the other, so that's one concern, and the other is, by authorizing this, does this leave us open to any liability if there is a contraction of COVID at this gathering?
Is this the same board that's considering opening its pool?
It's the same board that's considering opening the pool.
Okay.
Okay.
Does the village have any liability if someone gets hurt or drunk because it's on a village street? Or is you know, normally a party would be in a house and it would be the property owner that would be liable for all of this?
The homeowner provides naming the additionally insured, naming the village additionally insured.
Okay.
So we want to take you just want to take a vote?
Yes.
Miss Trustee Corrigan?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Barone?
Yes.
Trustee Alpert? Trustee Girard?
Yes.
Motion passes. Discussion. Board resolution to establish a limit for individuals to speak. We already spoke about that. And the attorney update 27 Hillside. That's it.
I do have one question about the 27 Hillside. So
Yes.
unfortunately, Mr. Magrino was breaking up a little, so I couldn't hear all of what he said. But I got the impression that we're looking to possibly clean up the property again. Is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So is there any costs involved in that, or that would be borne by the village? Is this something that we're budgeted for? Is this something that would be passed along? I mean, I know the property owner would be responsible ultimately, but they're not paying their bill as it is. They're not paying their taxes. So I just wanted to inquire about that.
Right. It would be a cost that the village would have to front, so to speak. But my understanding is the village does get the taxes.
Yeah.
It's the county that then goes after, the property owner. The taxes aren't paid. So I defer to Mike, but I believe in the past, even though the taxes weren't technically paid, that the village did get reimbursed. Mike, can you?
Yes,
confirm?
that is correct. The village gets reimbursed 100% by the county for any unpaid village taxes. In fact, anything that's levied along with those taxes, like unpaid water bills, things like this where repairs were done and get levied on the property, we do get reimbursed.
And then I want to do a great shout out on how great the village looks with all the stores and how DPW worked all the barricades, the garbage pails. It really looks very inviting and wonderful. So I know DPW did a lot of extra stuff and everybody worked really hard. The whole team that worked on it was great, but you know, I just think the barricades look good. They're not intrusive. They're safe. The patterns are very easy to walk through. So the big kudos.
Agreed. And it also, by the way, smells really good. I know when I was downtown the other day, it's a beautiful smell here, you know, smelling all the different restaurants. It's just lovely. I like it a lot.
I want to agree with Trustee Corrigan that a lot of effort by the DPW went into it. A lot of effort from the village clerk staff, recreation staff, police department, and the building department. It was all a huge effort. Thank you to all. All right, guys. Motion to close.
Motion.
Motion
Second.
Trustee Alpert, second Trustee Corrigan. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. All right, thank you. Have a good night.
You as well.
Night.
Be safe, everyone.
Stay safe, everyone.
Night.